Hello everyone, the Nerdy Steve here, and today I will be featuring a Gruul aggro deck in Standard. The list is in the description below. I'm going to talk a little bit about the plan of the deck, and then we'll play a couple of games. So, let's go. This is the first deck I'm covering since the Meathook Massacre ban has taken place on Arena, and I just want to go back to Gruul again. I played this a couple times, and I made some changes, but for the most part, it's going to be what you expect, right? We have a lot of very aggressively costed, hasted creatures, and we want to try and attack and kill our opponent as quickly as we possibly can. And I want to play around with this deck and see how it goes. With Meathook Massacre gone, our early threats, like Quirion Beastcaller, Radha's Firebrand, and Ascendant Packleader, that we play on turn 1 and turn 2 will actually be much more relevant for much longer as we play the game. Quirion Beastcaller was a card that could very easily, come out on turn 2, but then be meaningless if your opponent casts a really big Meathook Massacre, because all your creatures would die and their counters wouldn't be able to be redistributed. But since Meathook Massacre is gone now, I have a feeling that Quirion Beastcaller, its power level is going to drastically increase in Standard, and I'm really, really curious about how this is going to play out. So that's kind of why I went back into Gruul, because I think Gruul gets a really, really big will become a big player in the metagame now that Meathook is gone. And I could be wrong, I don't know, but that's part of the fun of playing new decks in this metagame. So let's go play some games. We don't have anything to do on turn 1. However, we are on the play, so that's going to make everything much better. And the Quirion Beastcaller is so great here, because now it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger very, very quickly. Our opponent could have a cut down here, and this would be the only opportunity to use it, so it is an Infernal Grasp, which is, not ideal, but it's fine. Now, Mono Black still has the problem of having Sheoldred, and that is something we should be very, very aware of. I'm going to do this and make our opponent use the Karn Silex here. So we'll have to tap out for 4 to kill both our things. And then we can double Radha's. But Sheoldred is a card we have to be very much aware of, because our deck will have a problem facing it. Let's double Radha's Firebrand. And again, pre-Meathook Massacre ban, we'd be very, very scared from this position. But right now, it's like we're kind of fine with it. Yeah, and so this is GG. We get to attack and play with fire. Oh, we could also just activate that, right? Yeah. So GG. And that's how we want our deck to work. Alright. We go first, and this is like a really great hand, because we actually have a 1-drop, which is amazing. Now our 2-drop is only an Ascendant Packleader, but it will get a +1/+1 counter from the Kumano faces Kakkazan, and that's really, really good. And then our next turn, which is Reckless Stormseeker, will deal a lot of haste damage out of nowhere, and hopefully that will be good. I'm going to use up the Play with Fire here, just because we have time to use it. We have the extra red mana, and we want to draw our land, and we want to go 3rd turn Reckless Stormseeker into 4th turn Thundering Raiju, right? And that means we won't have time for Play with Fire, so we don't mind using this mana now, even though we're not really getting tons of value out of it. Because ideally, we get to 4th turn Thundering Raiju. Now, will we? I don't know. The Celestis, okay. And look. It worked out. Now our opponent's at 3. Depopulate would probably be the thing or by invitation only, what we're most scared of. Oh wow, the Volatile Arsonist. Ouch. We needed something that costs 4 mana with haste. And now we're a little scared here, right? Because our opponent has the Celestis going, probably has some type of counter magic. So we have to really, really hope that they're doing nothing. Okay. I'm okay with Wedding Announcement. Does not do anything against the Arsonist. Maybe our opponent will counter it. Our opponent will not. Ooh, I don't think I want the Reckless Stormseeker, honestly. Maybe, this is actually really, really... Because our opponent has a counter spell. It's going to be for the Stormseeker anyway. Oh, this is much better than that. So I'm glad I did it. Oh, and oh wow, it dissipate? No. Still a little scary. Our opponent likely has more counter magic. Because we need to fight through some counter magic, right? Opponent goes to 1, but can use the Celestis to loot and gain 1 life. Or the Wandering Emperor. Which is also very, very scary. Our opponent's gaining life there with the Wandering Emperor. Interesting. So... Oh, that can only be activated as sorcery. I knew that, right? Alright, we just need an land and our opponent to not have any counter magic. Do we think this is going to happen, everyone? Deal 2. 2. 2. Good game. GG. Yes. Alright, this is pretty decent, right? Radha's Firebrand is going to be able to deal a lot of damage very, very quickly, hopefully. And if we can get the Thundering Raijus on turn 4 and turn 5, that's a lot of damage. Depending on what our opponent's deck is, the Radha's Firebrand are going to be really, really good. I mean, that's like, they're either going to be really good or really bad, you know, like every Magic card in every matchup. But that's fine. Alright, so it looks like our opponent's either on Gruul or Mono Red. Which can be a little scary. The problem with Mono Red and how our hand is lining up is the Radha's Firebrand are going to be trading 1 for 1 here. And that's not particularly ideal. Specifically being on the draw. Our opponent is going to have a lot more things much more quickly. And so we're going to be taking a lot of damage and not adding anything to the board while our opponent just, like, look. Now, this is a very, very different game if we are on the play. Because the Kumano is a little slower. Like, everything's just a little slower. But our opponent, if there is any interaction here, we're dead, right? So, and that's kind of really, really sad. But that's one of the things to expect, too, specifically in best of 1. Your opponent's decks are going to be really, really aggressive. Mono red also becomes much stronger in the metagame now. So we have to hope our opponent literally only has 2 lands in hand. And nothing else. Otherwise, we lose. But one of the things we have to expect here, alright, and that kills us, is there are going to be a lot of aggressive decks now, specifically in Best of 1, because mono red, or Meathook going away makes mono red, mono white, mono green, like all these very aggressive creature-based decks much, much better, and so they'll be much more popular. And if they're on the play, you're going to lose. So GG, let's play another one. So we go first here, so we'll keep... we want to Kumano on turn 1 to make our Quirion Beastcaller turn 3, and that's going to give us counters to distribute very, very quickly. This is a really good hand if we can draw another land. 2 more lands would be wonderful. Alright, Blood Tithe Harvester, okay. But, here's the cool part. Let's get the Squee going. Attacking. Maybe we could have doubled Ascendant Packleader. I'm not sure what I wanted to do there. I think I like having the Squee, but the double Packleader does trigger the Quirion Beastcaller twice, and maybe that's good enough. Opponent does that. Then we get to Halana and Alena, the Squee, which is attacking for a lot, so... Our opponent is stuck on 2 lands, which is a little unfortunate. I mean, I'm okay with it, but... You know. Oh, Onical Anvil can do a little bit of work here. It can create a bunch of blockers for the Squee. Now, our opponent is at 3 life. So... that can, you know, be a little difficult for us to get through right now. And our pack leaders will only be 2/1, so... Oh, that isn't eaten alive? Okay. Maybe we shouldn't have felt bad for our opponent. And again, if Meathook was still legal, we would not feel good in this position, right? Because our opponent could play a land and Meathook for 2 and gain a lot of life and ruin our board. And it not being something to worry about in Standard right now is wonderful, really. And I think that's still game, right? Our opponent has to block the 4/4. They take 6. GG. Now, this is a tricky hand. I'm going to keep it. But the problem is, right, we don't have red mana. But we do have the Ascendant Packleader and Yavimaya Iconoclast going. And that could be, you know, that might do stuff. Now, we did draw that. So what I'm going to do is attack here for 2. See what our opponent does. Our opponent didn't want to trade, which, you know, makes sense. And then I'm going to Packleader and Kumano. So now we added a lot of pressure, and our opponent is... If our opponent doesn't flip Delver here, we're pretty... in a pretty decent spot, I think. Though. I'm not sure. Our opponent can counter this Iconoclast with literally anything that they could possibly have. Okay. Probably has a bounce spell then. And our opponent is going to scry. And Our opponent put it on the bottom, so likely, again, it wasn't an instant or sorcery. And we're attacking here. Our opponent didn't trade. And I think we are happy with our opponent not trading because this damage that we're doing is probably much more important than the damage they might, or that they're saving over the long term. That might not make sense. It makes sense to me. So, our opponent probably has a counter spell. And we could go for Yavimaya Iconoclast here. Part of me feels like I want to Rending Flame, though. Make our opponent either use a Shore Up or something. There's a lot going on here. I guess we could just go to Yavimaya Iconoclast. Our opponent will use the counterspell or has another Fading Hope or something like that. And we do go to attack with everything, I believe. Or our opponent will Fading Hope that again. And putting a card on top, which to me probably says it is an instant or sorcery. And it is Syncopate. Now, this being said, we are at 11, so that's like... It's not the biggest clock. Because it is still 2 turns. Let's go and kick this, have our opponent counter it with Syncopate, most likely. And our opponent does need another counter spell here. Otherwise, they are dead to our Kumano. So a Spell Pierce could work. And a Spell Pierce did work. GG. Well, thank you for watching me play some Gruul aggro in Standard. The Meathook Massacre ban has definitely revitalized aggressive decks right now in this metagame. And we will be seeing a lot more of them, because now they kind of have a chance to actually do stuff and perform. And you don't have to be afraid of, playing out your board and then gaining your opponent playing one spell to kill everything and gain a bunch of life. Yeah, the deck felt really, really good with that fear of Meathook Massacre not being there. And so I would recommend playing this deck, I think, right now. I think it's good, it's quick, it's fast, and really, really wonderful. And I'm looking forward to playing around with more aggressive decks and aggressive strategies in the future, because they're going to become really, really popular, and that's really, really cool. With all that being said, if you haven't already, you should like, comment, subscribe. That's a great way to help support me and my channel. You can also watch me play Magic live at twitch.tv/thenerdysteve. I also do some coaching. All those links are down below. I hope you have a wonderful morning, evening, or afternoon wherever you are, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.